I'm playing your favorite song. I feel like you need to do like a praise, a mom or something to it. Hello. Happy Tuesday, you guys. Come on in. Excited about Tamesha lifting us up. This is appropriate. This was a good song selection. Yes, come on. That's gonna make me cry. Maybe think of a movie. Hello, you guys. hello, you guys. Happy Tuesday and welcome to Growing in Gentleness, a weekly conversation for the gentle and not so gentle caregiver. You guys, I am so excited. We have Tamesha Bland with us this week. And let me say this because I made a post that said, don't get too spoiled. I need to take that back because I don't call kids spoiled. So I'm not going to say that about adults either. You guys are well loved, which is why you are deserving of a special guest as often as possible. So welcome to Tamesha. Let me tell you guys a little bit about her. How you feeling?
Pretty good. I feel pretty good today. How about you?
I'm well. It's cold as a mug here. Um, I was telling you, kids are out of school, so we all home just trying to keep warm. But let me tell you guys a little bit about Tamesha. She's also located in my home state. She's in Missouri, St. Louis to be exact for her. But let me tell you guys a little bit about because the woman is busy. Okay, I'm just gonna read the beginning of her bio. Tamesha Bland, she is a wife. She is a mother of 4. She is the author of Take Back Your Peace of Mind. Yes, ma'am. Parenting Guide. She is the founder, owner, you can put it, and director of Regal Behavior Solutions. She's also a board certified behavior analyst with a specialty in working with individuals with high intensive behaviors and caregiver training. Tamesha, thank you so much for being here. Anything else you want to add? I know I didn't read your whole bio. Anything else you want to add?
No, that was amazing. I'm just excited to be here for you.
Yes. Thank you so much. And if you guys saw the post, you know that today Tamesha is joining us to provide proactive behavior strategies for the parent who may be raising neurodivergent children. All right. So important, such an important topic. And so we're gonna jump right in. We're not gonna prolong, we're gonna jump right in. And so I think it's important that we define, right, some things just in case a parent is not familiar. So can you define what does it mean for a child to be neurodivergent?
So for a child to be neurodivergent, it's the way that they define it is differing in mental or neurological function. So you have like your atypical and your neurotypical type of kiddo. So basically just thinking differently. So rather that's being diagnosed with autism or ADHD as a kid or as an adult. Um, those are having reading disabilities that those kind of classify as neurodivergent.
Thank you. All right. So we usually have neurodivergent and neurotypical. Are those the correct way? That's how I say it. I hope it's the politically correct way in your particular world. And so I like the way you define it, though. Basically thinking differently, whether that's a child or an adult, but they usually or can come with the diagnosis like you named. Autism. Did you say ADHD as well? But ADHD as well. So yes, okay. So thinking differently, and I think this is super important. And I'm not going to ask you this right now, but I do want you to hit on it. And I thought this was a super important topic for this conversation because I worked in the school system for many years and worked with a lot of parents, and then even with my own practice. With parenting for the culture, talking to parents who feel like, well, gentle parenting, that's not for my child because they think differently, right? Because we have this diagnosis that isn't appropriate because I can't do that with them. And so I wanted us to talk about that. Like, is this a realistic expectation for a child who may have neurodiverse needs? So we're not going to answer that now, but just keep that in mind as to why we're having this conversation. But again, I want to make sure we're all on the same page when it comes to a lot of things we have already said. So we said you are a BCBA. Can you break that down for the listener who may not be familiar?
Of course. So BCBA is the short version of Board Certified Behavior Analyst. And what we basically do is we change the environment to help modify behaviors. and teach new skills and new behaviors in a more sustainable way. But we only do it for behaviors that are socially significant and improvement. So if it's something like flapping, that's not something that we work on. Like if they're excited and they left it flap, then so be it. Um,
Mhm.
if it's something like self-injurious behavior where they are banging their head on the ground and nearly going, giving themselves a concussion, that is something that we would work on, um, especially if they are doing it because they want something. So if we
Mhm.
would teach them a new behavior, so they can get what they want more appropriately instead of banging their head. So it's kind of like a twofer. It's kind of what we
Mhm.
do. We reduce the maladaptive behaviors, but teach new skills to replace those behaviors.
Nice. And I remember something you said when we first spoke that really stood out to me, Tamesha. You named that doing this work really helped you see like these are practical tools for every parent, right? Whether your child is neurodiverse or neurotypical. Now, I love how you named that. You like this, whether you call it gentle parenting, whether you call it peaceful parenting, proactive, whatever you want to name it, conscious parenting. You like these are practical tools for all parents. And so that really stood out. So can you tell us a little more about how you got involved in this work?
Oh, yes, of course. So, let's see. I've been in the industry for about 13 years working with individuals with developmental disabilities. Oh, sorry, not 13. My son is about to be 15. So almost 15 years. Goodness, 15. So I've been in the field in this industry for about 15 years. But I had moved to St. Louis and I got a job as a paraprofessional working at Special School District SSD. And one year they was like, "Hey, do you want to work at this school in this ABA classroom?" I'm like, "What is ABA?" Like, I guess they're like, "But you got to do this ABA training." So I go in and do this ABA training. It's about two days long, and it was crazy because she was teaching us all these different strategies and these techniques to help kids learn effectively while using it to teach us these skills. So it was like, what in the world you're teaching us by using the same thing? And it
Mm-hmm.
threw me. And then I was just in awe. Like I fell in love with it. And so on the last day, I was just like, "Hey, what's your job title?" And she said, "Board Certified Behavior Analyst." And that was all she wrote. When she told me that, I looked up BCBA, how to get there, how to do it, and then that's just been my journey ever since. And I'm still going. So now I have my own company, and I'm growing and keep going. Like it was that aha moment for me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, whatever you do, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. It took me some years, but I figured it out.
I love it. I love it. You said ABA. Can you define what that is?
Yes, so ABA stands for Applied Behavior Analysis. We use the science to help with the behaviors and to teach new skills.
Yes. So ABA is the science that you use as a BCBA, right? When you're working with students or kids, children, and their families. I love that. And something else that stood out, you named that the waiting lists for these services were so long, which is very typical, very common, which is a reason why you started your own practice. That's
Yes,
accurate.
yes, ma'am. I was getting reports that there are waiting lists that goes about 2 year long. I think
Wow.
it kind of shortened up lately because there's
Mhm.
more people popping up. But now that there's kind of like a shortage in staff, it's kind of like delayed in a sense. But the wait list to get an ABA services is pretty long in a lot of different organizations. And so I was like, you know what? This is what I want to do. Let's do it.
I love it. I love it. So let's talk about that question I mentioned earlier about the parent who may be raising a child consider, neurodiverse. What would you say to that parent who struggles to see how this idea of gentle or conscious or peaceful parenting is appropriate for them and their child?
I would say to list out their reasons why.
Mm,
Identify what it is that's keeping them back. That would be the first step. So if they say it's not going to work, well then what are those reasons? And then let's go through those reasons. Because when I think of gentle parenting and proactive parenting, as well as doing ABA, it's mostly about prevention, proactive, being intentional in what you're
Mm,
doing. And if there's some things that you're like, oh, that's not going to work. Oh well, let's talk about it. What are the barriers? And that's an intentional moment. That's a proactive moment. This is a barrier. Then how can we remove those barriers? How can we pivot? How can we make that barrier into a benefit? And it's
mm,
just having somebody that you can have that conversation with to help you move forward might be the key. Might be the key component that you're missing. Um, but being intentional is the biggest part of what we're doing with our kiddos. And like I said, it doesn't have to be a neurodivergent kiddo. It can be anybody.
mhm,
I use ABA on my husband. I use it on my kids. I use it on everybody, on my staff. Like you can
mhm.
use pretty much any strategy for anybody. And
Okay,
some
you
of
got to
those,
give us an example of that though, Tamesha.
okay, so let's say your kid has a tantrum because they have to do homework, right? Rather they're neurodivergent or neurotypical, it's math time. They got to do their math homework, right? And they're throwing the tantrum, and that can look at different ways. They can either withdraw, get anxious, or they can throw things around, tear up their paper, do whatever, whatnot, right? So that's the scenario.
Mhm,
What you're going to want to do is you want to try and figure out what are those signs that let you know that they're about to have that tantrum. So
mm,
that maybe they might lie and say they don't have homework, or they might avoid the word homework, or avoid you because you're going to make them do their homework, or they might cry or look down. So when you notice those precursors, those signs that let you know that they're about to have a tantrum, then that's when you intervene. That's where you go in and you're like, hey, you know, let's come together. Let's regroup. Let's redo something. And you can even throw some proactive strategies in there, such as, okay, I know that this is hard for you. What can we do if they're older? But if they're younger and they really don't know what they can do, you can break them down into that math assignment into smaller pieces. So that's
mm,
one strategy, making a difficult task shorter. Or
mm,
if it's longer, the length, making it doing 5 minutes, then taking a break, then doing another 5 minutes and taking a break. I like to give the example of if they have like a whole sheet of homework, fold that bad boy in half and just do the top half. Take a break and
mm,
then we'll come back and do the last half. Or you
mhm,
can even do something as, hey babe, let's circle all the even numbers and do all
mm,
the even. Um,
mhm,
if they're always having these issues, talk to the teacher. Like, hey, this homework is just too much. You know, can we do half of this today and then the other half tomorrow? That's also an opportunity to collaborate with your teacher. Are you seeing this at school? So it's another intentional, proactive moment. That kid might be having issues at school too, and the teacher's probably writing them off like, oh, they just having a behavior. No, the work is too hard. let's
mm,
work together on this.
mm,
So those are some prevention strategies for that. And there's another one to go along with that. So yes, we can prevent the behavior from happening and by jumping in at the beginning where you see those signs. Um, but you're going to want to teach them what to do instead. So instead of that withdrawal or instead of that tantrum, you might want to teach them how to get out of it appropriately. Mom, this is
mm,
too hard. I don't know how to
mm,
do it. Mom, can I do it later? Mom, I
mm,
really don't want to do it. Being able to communicate. Like I said, I always say behavior is a form of communication. That kid don't
yeah,
want to do it, right?
yeah,
Too
mhm,
hard. But I don't know
mhm,
how to say it's too hard. So I'ma scream and shout and tear my paper.
mhm. That's how I'm saying it, right? That is how I'm communicating that it's too hard.
It's
Yes.
too hard.
Yeah.
Like I tell my staff, I tell my parents, behavior is a form of communication, and we have to
Mhm.
figure out what are they trying to communicate and teach them the appropriate way to communicate that. So
Mhm.
now, not only did you prevent the behavior from happening in the first place because you saw the signs, and then you worked on it. You used some strategies, cut it in half, do the even ones. You did it together. Hey, do you want to do it together, or you want to give them choices? You know what I'm saying? Do you want to do the even or the odds? That's my other favorite practice strategy, using providing choices. My favorite,
Right.
actually.
Yes.
But then you want to teach them how to get out of it. Mom, I don't know how to do it, or how to communicate what they're
Mhm.
feeling. I know in
Mhm.
gentle parenting, you kind of label the emotion. So
Mhm.
you label it. You look frustrated. How can I help?
Mm.
So throwing in a
Yes.
little bit of that stuff in there as well, but
Mhm.
also recognizing yourself. Are you frustrated because they're frustrated?
Mhm.
If you know you get frustrated, take that good old pause. Pause.
Mhm. Mhm.
They're trying to communicate something. What are they trying to communicate?
Yes.
Let's get to the solution instead of prolonging the problem.
Yes, yes, that's so good. Parents, I hope y'all are taking notes. And if you hear something that's like, that's good, just type that's good, something you can take away and use, right? Because you just said a whole lot of nuggets. I'm gonna
Sorry.
try to say some that I heard. You're good. I'm gonna try to say some that I heard you mentioned, which is so key. With all of us as parents, right? It's just being intentional, being aware. And what I heard you say, one of the first steps is basically knowing our kids' triggers, right? Knowing those cues that we are getting ready to have a meltdown or have a tantrum or have an issue. Bless you. Bless you. But knowing those cues, right? And I think a lot of times we're trying to put the sprinklers up when the house is already on fire. And it's like, no, we need to do that sooner, right? Because at that point it's too late. When we become aware and know those cues, know those signs, I love how you said we can intervene sooner before it gets to that point, right? But that takes being present. And for anyone who knows me, know like that is my thing. Like parents is not about being a perfect parent, it's about being a present one. So being in the moment well enough, right, to see the potential escalation. So that was really good. Just being aware of what those triggers are and how to intervene. And you gave some really good strategies, some really good tips. Choice is one of my favorites as well. Especially at the age of my kids, 5 and 2, like offering choice, like giving them that, that autonomy to feel like they have, they're in control of something, and that also promotes buy-in. So that's really, really good. I was trying to take notes of things to highlight. But that was good, girl. Oh, now one more thing I just want to name, because you said sometimes the work in the scenario with the homework, the work can be too hard. And sometimes it may not be a situation where it's too hard, but their capacity is not as large in that moment, right? And that could be for a number of reasons. That could be because of hunger, that could be because of overwhelm, fatigue, a lot of things. I think a lot of time as parents, we know they can do the work. So it's like, oh, you need to sit down here and do this, but their capacity is not there in that moment. Just like
Yeah.
as adults, I may can do something, but baby, I'm tired. Or I may can do something, or I just don't feel like, or my mind is on something else. And so we have to remember, yes, they may be able to do the
Mhm.
work or do the task or whatever we're asking, but the capacity is right there. But when we take the lens, first of all, not be offended and think we being disrespected, right, or whatever. Because another thing, many times is not defiance, is development, right? So when we take a step back, like you said, and just pause, check our own emotions, right? We're able to look at it through a clear lens. So, girl, all the nuggets.
Absolutely.
Come on.
Yes.
So good. Yes. Thank you for those. Thank you for those. And I know, did we just jump to your proactive strategy? Did you have more? I know we kind of jumped ahead, which was really
I
good.
have
Did you
a
have more?
lot. I have something. It's in my book too, the Take Back Your Peace of Mind, in my parenting guide, which kind of helps organize it a little bit more. It's something I call the 5-phase planning, proactive planning system, um, which is it's 5 phases, right? And it kind of helps you figure out what's going on, what can I do, and how can I resolve this behavior, and transform it to communication, right?
Mhm.
So the first part of the 5-phase planning system is to look within yourself in the environment. So How are you reacting to these behaviors? What in the environment can change or alter in order for that behavior to not occur? So, like putting up gates so they don't fall down the stairs, or taking a deep breath before you react. So, just identifying all those things and working on it. If it's too bright
That was,
outside,
you said step one was what?
look within yourself and the environment.
Look within self. Parents, I hope y'all taking notes. Pull your notepads out. This is good, a good place to do that. So look within yourself. That is so good. And the environment. Okay.
And that kind of also goes with the mindset you have about behavior. The biggest thing about mindset about behavior is if you go from the lens or the mindset that behavior is a form of communication, then you'll be able to set yourself ready and set your kids ready to keep going and solve this on your own. Although this information does not replace a professional. Sorry, I forgot my disclaimer. The information today is for educational purposes and does not should not be used instead of a professional, such as a behavior analyst or such. I'm sorry. Okay, so as 2 is to get clear about the behavior. So, what does the behavior look like? Oh, they mad. Okay. What does that look like? They have a tantrum. Okay, what does that look like? Does the tantrum is just or is the tantrum laying on the floor, kicking and screaming at high pitch for 5 hours? Now that's a big deal. But if they're just not doing nothing, I prefer you not to do nothing instead of hitting me. So kind of knowing what that behavior looks like and what their triggers are and what are the signs that let you know that they're about to have a behavior. So if you know that they get physical, what tells you that they about to hit somebody? Or they grunting, or they growling, or they getting real quiet, or they looking around, or they being sneaky. Like, know what those signs are so you can know when to intervene, when to use your strategies, when to be there for them in that moment so they don't get to that next level.
Right. And that's so good. You made me think of when you say get clear about the behavior. I'm thinking about in particular moments where it's around discipline, when kids shut down or get physical, right? Or try to leave the situation. And if we are clear about things like fight or flight, right, that this is a natural response, that they're trying to now defend themselves. So to be clear about the behavior, like what's potentially going on internally. So good, Tamesha. So we have so far, number 1, look within yourself and the environment. Number 2, get clear about the behavior. And either one of these resonate with you parents or what you want to practice, just type the number in the chat. So far we only have 1 and 2. And you can keep going with number 3.
Okay. So number 3 is use proactive strategies. Now, that is my favorite part in the whole wide world. I don't know where and why I love proactive strategies so much. It's just like if we use proactive strategies for everything, we don't have to react to anything, right? I mean, we might have to react a little bit here and there because every day is not the same. Everybody's not perfect.
But for the most part, right.
Then it ain't gonna happen. Right? We ain't gonna do nothing else. The world is fine. But some of my favorite proactive strategies are providing choices. Of course, giving them, hey, you want this kid to do this, right? All right, we'll give them 2 choices that are within that parameters. It's time to do homework. You want to do your homework with your red pencil or your gray pencil?
There you go.
It's time to take a bath. You want to run to the bath water or crawl like a crab or a bear or something. I put in my book, I talk about the different ways of providing choices. There's the when, who, what, and why. Hold up. I can't count. Where, why? So who? Do you want mommy to do it or you want to do it yourself? The how?
Mhm.
Do you want to jump there or you want to run there? The
Mhm.
what? You want to eat your food first, eat your broccoli first or your macaroni first? Let's see who what when. Do you want to do it in 5 minutes or 3 minutes?
Yes.
Where do you want to do your homework at the table or on your bed? Yeah, got it. But there's so sorry.
So
But
funny.
that's my favorite thing about providing choices because there's so many different opportunities and so many different ways that you can provide choices, and it can be within your own selection. So you get the cooperation, but you're giving them control of what and how, when, and what they want to do.
Yes. Yes.
So
So important. Oh my goodness. That's so good.
So providing choices is my other favorite one. Let's see. Altering the environment, I think is one of the best ones. If if you have to put up gates, put up extra locks, change the lighting, rearrange your schedule. So if you know that kid gets home and they're hungry, they have their lunchtime at 11 o'clock and they don't get home till 4 o'clock. But then they got karate and ballet or basketball practice after that. And then you want to ask them to clean that room in between there. Make sure that baby get that snack and change it around. And don't give them karate. Don't give them basketball. Change the days around. So altering your
Yes.
schedule, changing the environment. If you need to move some couches around because you know that they always jump, hop, and skip. I work with a
Mhm.
lot of people who elope, so I'm always changing the environment around.
Mhm.
Or if you know that they're sensory loving, you know what I'm saying? Get them a rocking chair.
Yes.
They like rocking, get them a rocking chair.
Mhm.
Find somebody they got one or makeshift. Give them a ball and let them rock on the ball. Or
Yeah.
there's so many different ideas for that. Let's see, those two. And then my other favorite is priming. And basically, what that is letting them know what's about to happen, when it's about to happen, and how.
Mhm.
So, like, hey, maybe they're on their tablet. Hey, babe, you got 5 more minutes on the tablet. Then it's going to be time to um, go take a bath and get ready for bed. So, just
Mhm.
giving them that warning that it's about to happen. You know,
Yeah. That
not
transition is important. That is a big deal, right? A lot of time we see those big explosions during those transition periods. We have not prepped them or primed them, like you say, for the transition. We like to incorporate the timer with that also. So the choice, how much time do you need, right? Would you like 2 minutes, 3 minutes? Of course,
that.
our oldest, especially to the point where she know the higher time, right? So she's saying the higher time. We set the timer. That's important too. If we say the time, right, but don't set the timer, now we're not really creating that boundary and showing the structure. So set the timer, and then that helps with the transition. So yes, well, like my friend said, hey Alicia, she said, you dropping gems, girl. You dropping gems, Tamesha. We appreciate you.
Listen, I'm trying. I ain't got that book. Go get the book. But it's all in there. I want to say I probably have maybe like 25 proactive strategies. The timer's in there. The providing choices is in there. But priming is super important, especially for that transition, because if that kid is playing the middle of a game, then all of a sudden, time's up. Let's go do this. What?
Listen, I know
If
I don't
you
like
were
to
in the middle of something, right? If you were in the middle of something and then some kid or your boss said no and close your computer, go do this right now. But I was doing the work you told me to do. Like what?
mm-hmm.
You all discombobulated, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you feel
I'm
rushed, you get anxious a
yeah.
little bit. How do you get
Yeah.
your kids?
Back to your first point when you said look within yourself, because a huge part of parenting is also checking our own beliefs, our own biases, right? Because maybe that's how you were treated as a child. You just feel like the adult is the ruler, and what you say goes, forgetting this is a human. Right, this is a person with feelings, with expectation, like you said. And if I wouldn't like somebody just to come and snatch me up from one project to another, they struggle with that also, and they have, you know, and their regulation skills are even more minimized than ours. So how does that feel? So
Right.
girl, yes.
Right.
Yes, yes. What we
And
on, girl? You girl. I hope
I'm sorry. I'm
y'all taking
sorry.
notes.
That was so much proactive strategy. It's my favorite. It's my favorite. It's my favorite. There's
That's
so
good.
many. There's so many. But I'll keep going. I'm sorry. Okay, so
No.
number four. Number four is teach alternative replacement behaviors.
Mm,
So if your kid is hitting, right? You might have used the
mhm,
proactive strategies to prevent the hitting by giving them choices or whatever. When that, yes, that's all amazing. And like I said, I love my proactive strategies, but you can't stop something from happening forever. You have
right.
to teach them what to do instead. So I
Mhm,
never, ever stop at proactive strategies. Yes, I
right.
can lock that door, but what if that door is unlocked when I'm not here? That kid's going to
Mhm.
run on out. So I have to teach them what to do instead. If you want something, you can come and ask mommy. Um,
Yeah.
if you are tired, or instead of screaming bloody murder that you're tired, I might teach you to ask for a story or ask to be held. If you want some attention, instead of just being all in my face or hitting that your peer, I'll teach you to tap their shoulder and, hey, can you play with me?
Mm,
So instead of just proactive strategies, which I love, I'm telling you, it's the best thing in since sliced bread, we still have to teach them what to do instead.
yeah.
And the biggest thing is communication. You know,
Mhm,
can I have a break? Can I get out of this? I always tell my parents that the best thing you can do for a kid that doesn't want to do anything that you tell them to do is to teach them how to get out of it.
mhm.
So if
That's
they're beating you up or tearing up the house because they don't want to take the trash out, okay. Teach them how to get out of it. Mom, can I have
mm,
a break? Mom, can I do it later? Oh, you want to do it later? Thank you for letting me know. What?
mhm.
How about you want to do it at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock? They
There
still
you
got to
go.
do it.
You still set the boundaries, right? Yes.
Giving their choices to do it
Mhm,
instead of just, hey, go take the trash out. And then
mhm,
I don't want to do that. So a lot of that teaching the appropriate way to get what
mhm.
it is that they want or to get out of what they don't want to do.
Yes.
It's kind of crazy though because I do it with a lot of my clients. Like I'll just be like, "All right, we're working," and then I can see they're getting anxious. I was like, "Don't forget, you can always ask for break, or you can always use your strategies." And they're like, "Oh, I want a break." Now, okay, you can ask. Don't forget, you can always ask for more time. So, because usually kids on the tablet, they want to be on the tablet forever. And over
Mhm,
time, they'll just be like, "Okay, I'm done. I'm ready to finish whatever I was supposed to be doing."
mhm,
People don't believe me. I'd be like, "Teach them how to get
mhm,
out of it. They'll come back.
mhm,
They'll come
mhm,
back. They want to get
mhm.
that off their list."
And that is just so powerful, Tamesha, because what I'm hearing you say is that we're teaching our kids to have a good relationship with their voice, right? And that is so important. And my work as a parenting coach, a lot of my work is parent centric in the sense of really helping parents explore where they are. And so many parents never had a proper relationship with their voice because they were not allowed to use it, like you said, to get out of things, right? They were never taught that it's okay to use your voice to communicate what you need, communicate what you would like, to even negotiate. They were never taught this. So what I'm hearing, we're giving our kids the chance to have a healthy relationship with their voice. That's so important.
Yes, yes. And it's amazing because you don't really think that they'll come around and do it because you're like, what if I teach them how to get out of it? Then they ain't never gonna do it. Well, you provide them choices within the range,
Mhm,
but they'll also eventually they're just like, okay, well, let's get it done. What are they doing it for though?
mhm,
Is it important? If it's
mhm,
something super important, you're going to make sure it gets done, but we can do it in a way that's appropriate,
mhm,
but that gives them a little bit of control.
mhm,
and that teach them how to communicate ongoing, not just only in the moment.
And just one more pin to put here, because this is super important. Tamesha, everything you just named in this step number 4 about teaching alternative for replacement behaviors, that's discipline. That's discipline. And so I know this is not, the quote unquote topic for today, but I think that is so important because a lot of times we're punishing kids for behaviors versus disciplining them for, which is to teach them the things they need to know so they can make better choices next time. Punishment says, I'm going to make you pay for making a mistake. Discipline is, let me teach you the missing skill so you can know how to handle this better next time, because it will be a next time, right? So how are we teaching those skills? So literally everything you just named in step 4 is discipline. So good. So good.
I love that you made that connection because I didn't even think of it that way. I love that you made that connection. I'm going to use that.
Yes, ma'am, baby. That's discipline, and I love it. All right, if y'all still with us, I know y'all are taking your notes. I see you, cousin. My cousin Tara says she is taking her notes, baby. She in there. But we have review the 4 real quick before you hit on number 5, Tamesha. And parents, if it's one that resonates, with just type that number in the chat. So review those 4 really quick.
Okay, so the 5 steps to the proactive planning system is look within yourself and the environment. 2, get clear about the behavior. 3, use proactive strategies. 4, teach alternative replacement behavior. And the last one is practice and reinforce. Practice those alternative behaviors when they are not in the middle of a behavior, when they're relaxed and happy and engaged and have fun with it. You want to teach your kiddo how to ask for more time, how to use their strategies. Like, okay, when you're upset, I want you to start taking deep breaths. Let's do this together. You can be in the car and be like, okay, let's count with me. Take some deep breaths with me. Let's do ground 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 breathing, grounding exercises. Let's practice, I don't know, a lot of different things. Let's practice asking for help. So you be me and I be you. Let's role play. Oh, my back hurt. I can't get up and do nothing. Then what do you say? Can I have some help? Yes, that's what you exactly say. And then you get excited, amped up, just have fun. It's an opportunity to be present, to be engaging, to have fun. And the more fun that they have practicing, the more that they'll remember why they would do it. If you're giving them scenarios and you're role playing and you're making that funny voice and they're all into it, trying to act like you might open up some other doors if they're acting like you and it don't look right. So just throw that in there. You might want to go back to number 1, but it's super fun. And it's only like maybe 1 or 2 minutes out of your day just to practice those things to help get that behavior out of there. I don't want to see no more tantrums. All right, well then let's practice on what we do when we in this situation. You know what triggers this kid? Okay, well let's talk about a situation which they would be triggered. Let's practice what. And then reinforce how they want to be reinforced. Not every kid likes stickers. Not every kid like candy. Not every kid want to do the same thing that other kids want to do. Some kids, they just want to be in your face. Some kids just want high fives. Some kids want extra time on their tablet. Some kids don't want to go to church. Some kids don't want to eat their green beans for that night. Like, reinforce something that in a way that they want to be reinforced. So that goes back to knowing your kiddo or just asking them, hey, we did such an amazing day. Amazing job practicing. What do you want to do today? Maybe they just want one time with mommy or daddy.
Girl, that's so good. And so when you name practicing it outside the mom, like that is super important because like that's actually building that muscle memory, right? Because when they're in that moment of tantrum or chaos, literally the learning part of their brain is offline. So they're not learning in the moment, but to do it, to practice it outside of the heated moment, now we're actually learning. Now we're actually making those, neural connections in the brain to actually remember this, to pull it out in those emergencies, right? In those tantrums, in those panics. So that is super important to practice it outside of the moment. I love that. And I just wanted to name for us when it comes to reinforcement, like one thing we're really big on is building our kids like internal motivation. And so we don't resort, to things, not saying it's bad, like again, parents have to decide for their household, but like when it comes to like things like sticker and treats for doing
like
we don't resort to external. So for me, one thing, me and my husband really practice, like when our kids are outside of a heated moment, how do you feel right now? How do you like that feeling? Do you like that feeling? And they're able to compare that internal feeling when they're feeling better till when you were in this moment. How did that feel? Oh, that didn't feel good. I didn't like the way it made my stomach feel, or my heart was racing. So now they are able to compare the two moments to have that intrinsic motivation, right? Which is reinforcing which place they like to be in. And so I just want to share that if any parent, who may be like myself and really don't use things like that, just to how to build that intrinsic motivation by helping the kids identify their own emotions and see which one they prefer, right? Which one they prefer to move towards. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing it. So good. I was going to say, if anyone wanted to, ask some questions while we have Tamesha, feel free to drop it in the chat. If we're able to get to, we will. But ma'am, you have dropped all all the gems. Is there anything else you wanted to share? I'm just making sure I asked you what I wanted to ask you. We did have a parent who, now this was early on, but my comments weren't working. She said she's 6 months on the waiting list there. We really hope that, I know, right, that speed up for you. But shout out to you. Let me tell you, this is a mom who out here doing what she got to do for her baby. So shout out to you for even seeking out those services. And we definitely hope that process happens sooner than later. Tamesha, for anyone else who is looking for services, can you give them any insight on how to go about doing that? How do they know they should be a candidate for that? Anything you want to speak to on that?
Okay. Let's see. If you're looking for services, see if you can get a list. If you're going through your regional center, they should have a list for you. You can go through the diagnostic centers. So wherever you got your kid evaluated for autism or something like that, they would have a nice referral list and go through the list and start calling, like, hey, do you have a spot or any availability for such and such kid with autism? And that way you'll know if you can get on their list or if they have any availability. So most of my parents, they just call down list, or you can call your insurance company if you have insurance. But if you have insurance, if you want to use your insurance, you would have to have an autism diagnosis at the moment. We're in the background, we're trying to work on it not just being autism, in order to get ABA services covered through your insurance. But it's not there yet. Some people are successful with it, but a lot of insurance companies aren't going for it. But if you have DMH funding, like through the Medicaid waiver, that's another way to go, because I also provide services to individuals in supportive living homes, hospitals, schools. So a lot of people use DMH funding for that. What else? I would suggest joining parenting groups, finding a parenting coach as well. Because there are, even though there are different names for everything, they pretty much have the core of what you need. I don't know if I'm making that sound right, but sorry,
that makes sense. No, that makes sense. You're basically saying, like, so even though it comes with different backgrounds and trainings, looking into these different options, because they all can be a support, right? And so even if it is on the waiting list for this, maybe looking into, a different thing, like you said, for example, a parenting coach, because it can offer some support, not necessarily replace, right? ABA services, but definitely can offer some support, even while you're in the waiting game, if that is your scenario. So no, that makes a lot of sense. I do see a question I'm put on the screen for you, Tamesha.
Okay.
It says, any tips for the transition home after school, release of bottled up energy, and transition into evening needs such as homework, reading, etc. We are constantly struggling with this as she is bouncing from one end of the house to the other, and we literally only have 2.5 hours between getting home and bedtime.
Is there a way to increase those hours in between? Increase that 2.5 hours? If there's a possibility of the increase, like, is there anything that can change to give her more hours? But other than that, to transition from school to home to homework, I would throw something in there that's more preferred. So, what is it at home that she can do that she can look forward to when she get home that's going to give her all that energy out? So, rather it's like time on a trampoline, time at the park, you got 10, 15 minutes to do this and this and this, and then do her homework. Or it can be right after homework. Like, all right, so we're going to get home, we're going to do our homework, and then right after homework, we're going to do trampoline or the park. Does that make sense? So having something rewarding after, like, really homework or before, okay, kind of really depends on your kiddo. So if your kiddo was just so full of energy and it's not that she don't want to do homework, she's just very active, well, get that active out. I know you only got 2.5 hours to do what you need to do, but if that's what she needs to do for herself and her body to self-regulate, then I would suggest doing it. Put a time frame on it, then transition into that homework. But it kind of depends on your kiddo. If the kiddo don't want to do homework, then maybe the trampoline in the park after homework.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about what you mentioned earlier, Tamesha, about the increments. I'm wondering again, different things for different kids, because some may get too hyped up, and it's a issue with focusing on the homework for that time period of time, amount of time. But I'm wondering what the increments could look like. Are we going to do 10, 15 minutes of this to kind of get this energy out? Then we're going to set this timer to see how far we get in our homework. Then when this goes off, we'll get a little more energy out. But again, that depends on the child. For some, that'll be perfect to get it out, being focused, but some they'll be too hyper, right, to even come back down. But maybe consider trying to. That's the thing about tools, you guys. Tools are not one size fit all, right? But the beauty is that we can have this huge toolbox that we can pull from and see, okay, this works and this does not, but at least we tried it. So, but I like what you said, and Alicia would encourage you to try.
Say it again. Both. You can also think outside the box and do both at the same time. If it's just 9 plus, if it's what's 1 plus 1, okay, jump up one time and then your sister jump up one time. How many times did both of y'all jump? So maybe you're doing the homework verbally, and then she's acting out.
That's good. Those modifications and accommodations. That's good. Yes. And we've had moments where, so our daughter, she's in pre-K, but she brings home work, and we don't force the work. And I love her teachers. They are so accommodating and understanding. Like if she's tapped out, she tapped out, and we don't force it. But it's sometimes she'll want to do her math, but she doesn't feel like writing it. So I will write it for her, and communicate. We know she can write it, right? But in this moment, that was her capacity. And this is how we modified it to make sure it still got done. And that's just how it is. So using those different, like you said, like those modifications, and keeping it big picture, right? I love that. That's really good.
Yeah, modify it and have fun doing it. That's my thing. Have fun. When I send the staff out, I'm like, listen, yes, we got programs to do, but do it while having fun. That way they remember it better.
That's so good. That's so good. Look, I know we have just been talking. I told y'all before, I'm not going to tell y'all no time limit, because we're just going to flow. If you can't stay the whole time, come back and join. But we are going to get ready to wrap up. Tamesha, I have enjoyed you so much. Parents, I hope you guys were able to grab some nuggets because she dropped so much good stuff. And I know she even brought a gift for you guys. Look how she's so sweet. Tamesha brought a gift for everyone who is listening, and I'll let you tell us about it.
All right, so my beautiful gift here on the screen. I wrote an ebook, and it's free for all who are listening. It's the first steps to effectively change behaviors. I know everybody doesn't have educational or social work or behavior analyst background, but we're parents first and foremost. And there's no book, no manual, no nothing that tells us what we need to do and how to do it. So we're just out there finding what works for us. So what I found through what I've been doing is that there's a mindset that we should, I want to say should, but there is a mindset to changing behaviors that I feel is super important. And that's behavior is a form of communication. And if you agree that behavior is a form of communication, I suggest reading this book as the first steps to that 5-phase planning system that I gave y'all. So for that 5-phase step planning system I gave y'all earlier, read this book.
Yes. And Tamesha said, if you agree, I will even argue, even if you disagree, that behavior is, communication. Even if you disagree, read this book to see if you feel the same way after you read it, right? Because it is no question that there is reason behind behavior. So if you do disagree, I would be curious to know if the points in this book, help you further in your disagreement or begin to change those thoughts. So either way, I believe it will be a great read. Encourage you guys to check out that free ebook download. Tamesha, thank you so much for even making that available. Because again, just based off those 5 nuggets, the book is fire. So yeah, check it out. And again, that's on the bottom of the screen. You go to www.thebehaviorcoach.com. And I'm sure you'll be able to also sign up to join Tamesha's listserv to stay updated on all the amazing things she has to offer. And I apologize, I did not get a picture of it, but tell them where they can find your book that you mentioned also.
Oh, yes. My book, Take Back Your Peace of Mind. It's on Amazon. So if you just put in Tamesha Bland, it'll pop right up on Amazon.com. And it's something you might want. It's also a workbook within it. So it's not just read it. It's we gonna do this together.
Come on, work. You better do the work.
We gonna do this together. I'm not just going. It's not a book that's just like here's all the words. Just read it and you'll know what to do. No, it's we gonna hands on. Let's think about this. Let's create a plan. So by the end of the book, you have a proactive parenting plan on how to handle the behavior in question of concern.
Yes, come on. So if you want Tamesha in your house next week, go ahead and order her book, and she can literally walk you through this in this book/workbook. I love that so much. Tamesha, thank you so much. It has been such an honor to have you here. Look, I'm like M-I-Z.
Oh, you.
Yes, I didn't mention it earlier. We both went to Mizzou, which is so interesting. PWI, we never ran into each other. Anyway, that's another conversation. But Mizzou made, I love it. I love the work you're doing. It is an honor to be connected to you in this work. And again, thank you so much. Y'all drop Tamesha a thank you. Be sure to share this. Let us know if you were catching the replay by #replay. And again, if anything was taken out of here that you can use, or you feel like someone else can use, go ahead and pass it along. And until next time, you guys, keep growing in gentleness.